So what's in a name? How important is the label that we attach to certain things? I guess that depends on who you ask. Greetings, people of the internet. I'm Scott with Serkworks Art Labs. Welcome, mad creators, to the underground laboratory where we create robots, aliens, zombies, and other imminent threats to humanity. And when I create those things, I like to make comics out of them. Those are some of my favorite subjects to do comics about. Zombies specifically, that's sort of the theme of the comic book that I work on. And I do a couple different kinds of comics. I do, you know, this is sort of my standard issue, kind of like you would see in on the comic book shelf. There's pretty much a standard American size that most things follow. But I also like to do these. These are like my little mini comics, and the thing, what's special about these to me are they're a little more handmade. It's not just something I send off to the printer. I put them together myself. I staple them myself. I try to, all these things are hand cut and everything. Unfortunately, these are sold out at the moment. At some point, maybe I'll make some more. But yeah, every time I issue a new issue of my comic book, I like to do a mini comic version. So anyway, I've got old videos. I got a video showing kind of my process on how I created these. But then I received a comment saying that this is not a mini comic, and it said that ash cans are digest, and mini comics are about half the size. And so I had to kind of stop and think, because I like, am I wrong? And maybe, I don't know. I mean, everything I've ever heard about mini comics, well, here, let me show you. So I've got a pretty decent collection of mini comics, and somewhere there's an older video where I went through a lot of these. But so here's a bunch of different things, and this was part of, some of these are part of a thing called the Mini Comics Dump Truck, which isn't around anymore, but it was another challenge started by Kevin Cross, where you make a mini comic, and at the end you just trade it with everyone else in the group that made a mini comic, and you get a bunch of mini comics. Some of these are from that, and some of these are just ones that I picked up at conventions or whatever. But as you can see, I mean, I've got one that's about this size. You know, this one's more of a square format. Here's another one. You know, again, this one kind of has a little window cut out. So that's what I like about mini comics, is they can be fun. But you know, some of these are more the size that I do. You know, they're just all different sizes. Some of them are in color. Some of them are in black and white. Again, another mini comic. This one is pretty much the size that I do, where it's almost like 11 by 17 folded in half. And you got some like this size. I mean, they're all different. Back to this size. But so in my experience, you know, mini comics, there's no, you know, standard size to mini comics, because they're typically not on the shelves with the other comics. So I mean, you can kind of understand why there might be some formatting to, you know, the stuff you see on the shelf, just because it makes it easier for retailers and stuff. But when you're like an indie publisher, or you're selling off your website or a convention, you're not really confined to a certain ratio or anything. So yeah, I had to stop and think about that. I don't, you know, everything I know about mini comics is they're all different sizes. Now I've heard, you know, I've also heard the term ash can, and in my experience that was, ash cans were just what we used to call mini comics, and somewhere along the line people stopped calling them ash cans, and now they're referred to as mini comics or zines, and maybe there's a different, you know, connotation to what a zine is compared to a mini comic and all that. But to me, you know, this is all just semantics, and you know, I think a lot of people get hung up on what things are called or whatever, but what's really important is that we're just making these things. And a lot of people so I went to go see a play. It was called Fun Home. It's a Broadway play. This was off Broadway. But I went there with my girlfriend. She's a big fan of this play, and she wanted me to check it out, and it's based on a comic book. And I was mentioning that. Somebody had asked me about it, and I think I said, yeah, it's based on a comic, and I got corrected saying, oh no, it's based on a graphic novel. And you know, you can call it whatever you want. I mean, I use the term graphic novel as well, or, you know, trade, paperback, or whatever. And I know technically there's probably some differences. Like, I guess if you put out a floppy comic and you collect that, then it's considered a trade. If you just put it out without you know, collecting collecting the individual issues. It's a graphic novel, I guess, but I've heard people refer to all these things different ways, and to me it doesn't matter. But I had to stop and think. I mean, why are we so ashamed to call something a comic book? You know, why do you have to correct somebody and say, no, it's a graphic novel? I mean, to me, I mean, does that make, if it's referred to as a comic, does that make it any less valid? I don't know. I mean, you know, to some people maybe, but this whole thing, I don't understand. I just think, I really think the most important thing is, like I said, just create, because I get comments on, you know, how things are worded or whatever, and a lot of people get hung up on all this kind of stuff. And it seems like some of the people that are getting hung up on this, you go and you check out, but it doesn't seem like they're doing anything, you know? I mean, so this is sort of my mantra. I've said it before, I said it a million times. This is, you know, haters hate, creators create, all right? And I don't know if I don't think the commenter that commented about that wasn't a mini comic, that's a different case. I think this person it looked like they were actually making comics and things like that. But I do get a lot of people that are just like, you know, they want to let you know, oh, you're saying this wrong, or this is wrong, or that's wrong. But sometimes when you go, maybe you follow the link back and you're like, well, what are you creating? And usually it's like nothing. So it seems like a lot of people are spending way too much time just complaining about things rather than creating things. And that's why I created this t-shirt. So yeah, and I guess this whole video is just me leading up to me shilling for my some new merch and everything. So anyway, these are on my website. It's serkworks.com, or you can go, if you want to go directly to the storefront, you can go to Mad Science Supply Company. They're in black, they're in white. But it's something I've always said, and I think a lot of people resonate with it, because when you're creating, you don't usually have as much time to like criticize things and everything. So, you know, I'm busy doing my thing, and then I'll get comments like, you know, I've done videos on like marker videos where I'm drawing, and for a while I used to call Copic markers, see, I did it just there. You used to call Copic markers. No, I said it right. See, I get confused, but I've always said, I used to always say Copic markers. And, you know, apparently it's pronounced Copic or whatever, but, you know, but I get so many comments, and every time I get another one, it's like, I'm thinking to myself, okay, yeah, you're not the first person that's brought this up. I mean, you know, thanks for letting me know for like the 100th time, and thanks for being original, but, you know, is it really that important? It's like Wacom, 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 whatever you want to call it. Does that, if you call it something different, if you're actually using that thing to create something, what's the most important thing? Is it that you're creating, or you're, you know, complaining? And you can take all the time you want to complain about things, or tell people they're pronouncing something wrong, or this or that. But if you're not making things, I mean, really think about it. Before you like go to make a comment like that, think to yourself, well, who am I complaining to? Is this a person that's actually doing something, making something, producing something, and kind of look in the mirror and think, am I doing that kind of stuff? Am I really in a position to comment on this or complain about this? I mean, you can be a critic. I guess people get paid to be critics, like movie critics, and they don't necessarily make movies. So maybe that's just the way it is. But to me, I think if you're I was gonna say before you complain, but like I said, I think a lot of the people that are making stuff, they're not as apt to complain about things. So yeah, I mean, it's just, that's the thing. And the whole, you can call comics whatever you want to call comics. I call them comics. If you want to call them graphic novels, if you want to call them sequential art, cartoons, it's all the same thing. And there's nothing wrong with just calling things comics. I would think most people that do, quote, graphic novels, if you refer to their work as a comic, I don't think they're going to be the ones that are going to correct you and say, oh no, it's a graphic novel. There may be some, I don't know, some pretentious people or whatever, I don't know. But I think cartoonists don't mind being referred to as cartoonists, even if they're creating, you know, more serious work, like, you know, like Art Spiegelman, if he's, I would assume he refers to his stuff as comics. Maybe he refers to them as graphic novels or whatever. To me, that doesn't matter. Whatever you want to call something. The important thing is that you're making it, you're enjoying it, you're putting it out there, and I just don't like getting hung up on just semantics. It's just kind of ridiculous to me. So anyway, those are just some of my thoughts. A little bit of a rant here and there, but yeah, just think twice before you kind of, comment or, the things that you're saying. Because, is it that important? Maybe it is to you. And I guess if it's that important, then go ahead, shoot. But yeah, I like comics, and it doesn't matter what you call them. To me, they're comics. I love comics, whether it's mini comics, zines, sequential art, ash cans, whatever you want. To me, it's all comics, and I love it. So anyway, but yeah, like I said, I've got some new merch on my store, Serkworks.com. You can also go to madsciencesupply.com. It'll take you there as well. Check it out. There's some cool stuff there. But yeah, that's all I got to say today, and I will see you guys later. That is all. Hey everyone, thanks for joining me here in the Art Lab. There's a lot of other great content on the channel, so click that subscribe button and you won't miss a thing. If you're an aspiring evil genius, visit Serkworks.com for all your mad science supply needs. And if you want to contact me, hit me up in the comments section or follow me on social media. I'm looking forward to it. I'll see you then.